Everyone, so nice to be with you all again. Here we are, internationally connected. I'll do a chant to start. Sahana bhavatu, sahana bhunaktu, saha viryam karavavahai, tejasvinavaditamastu, ma vinvishavahai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. We will share the screen. Oh, look at that. It's not in the right place. Okay, let's try again here. See what happens. Try again. Share screen. There it is. Wasn't there last time. Okay. Great success. Very strange. Never done that before. Okay, I guess I don't need this either. We are continuing with our series, Raising Children as Good Hindus, as I mentioned before. It's coming up in the April 2021 issue of Hinduism Today, which is currently at our printers. Goes online April 1st. And we're dividing up the material into 9 Zoom satsangs. And as I've mentioned, just to remind you, it's obvious how it relates to those who are still raising children. And we have some grandchildren who are basically raising the grandchildren, and it works for you. And for adults who are doing neither, it's just like the character building workbook. A lot of things you're doing already, doing them well, but there's always a few you could do better. So for adults, just look for that which you could do better or you forgot about altogether and can add it to your routine. And then we're going to have our usual self-generated quiz here. Write down the answers to a few questions, so have something to write your answers down on. Got a few really good questions today. So we're up to number 3 in the series. And as before, the first section is on cultivating 9 key spiritual qualities. The third quality to develop is powerful self-control. Powerful self-control is the ability to restrain destructive emotions such as anger when we are tempted to express them. Okay, first question. How is such control cultivated in children or for adults without children in yourself? For parents, it is through never expressing such emotions themselves, meaning verbally. Children learn by observing their parents whether it's acceptable to behave emotionally or not. Self-control is cultivated by referring often to the 10 restraints, yamas of Hinduism's code of conduct, finding illustrations of these ideals in daily life on television and in movies for children. So you can always be on the lookout. If you have children or you're with grandchildren, what do we see in all the media that can be used as a lesson about yamas and niyamas? So the yamas, I won't read the 10 yamas. We all know them. This just is satya. Nice handwriting of satyam. Self-control leads to self-mastery, enabling one to be more successful in achieving outer and inner goals. Okay, I skipped a slide. Makes more sense. Self-control is also cultivated through emphasizing from an early age the traditional Hindu imperative to maintain chastity until marriage. Self-control leads to self-mastery, enabling one to be more successful in achieving outer and inner goals. So emotions can be a big problem, and this is not saying we can never get emotional. That's unrealistic, as the picture of the young woman illustrated. She got upset, but she pulled herself together. She didn't just let the upset out on the next person she saw or hold the upset in, and when you get home you take it out on your spouse or your children. No, she changed her consciousness. She got upset, but she didn't express it. So she controlled it, controlled the emotion, and through whatever techniques she knew, she calmed herself down. Gurudeva noted, children who see their mother and father working out their differences in mature discussion or in the shrine room through prayer and meditation are at that moment given permission to do the same in their own life. When they are older, they become the elite of society, the pillars of strength to the community during times of stress and hardship. These children, when older, will surely uphold the principles of Dharma and will not succumb to the temptations of the lower mind. Good advice. In our next section, one of Hinduism's wise precepts, and the third precept is that Hinduism is respected for solving conflicts through nonviolent means. Mahatma Gandhi's strong belief in the Hindu principle of ahimsa and his nonviolent methods for opposing British rule are well known throughout the world. The nonviolent approach has consciously been used by others as well. Certainly one of the most well-known exponents of nonviolence was Dr. Martin Luther King, of course in the U.S. Dr. King, who, after decades of careful thought on the problem of racial discrimination in the United States, selected the Hindu principle of ahimsa as exemplified by Mahatma Gandhi's tactic of nonviolent resistance as the most effective method for overcoming the unjust laws that existed in America at that time, which was segregation. In 1959, Dr. King even spent 5 weeks in India personally discussing with Gandhi's followers the philosophy and techniques of nonviolence to deepen his understanding of them before putting them into actual use. So he was very serious about learning this in person. Flying to India was not that easy in 1959. In a world awash in wars and conflict of every kind, Hinduism's gentleness and non-injury by thought, word, and deed is more than a relevance. It is a necessity for the future of humanity. So that's about as brief on nonviolence as you can get. Each of these sections is pretty short. A common misunderstanding, and I've run into this among a number of people, is they're confusing the principle of nonviolence with pacifism. So pacifism means you don't believe in going to war. You don't believe in having a strong military and defensive missiles and so forth. So Hindus are not pacifists. It's very difficult for a nation to survive if it doesn't have a military because we're still in a world of conflict. So for the military to use violence or the police force to use violence is okay in Hinduism. It's just civilians should not use violence. If you don't have a pledge that you're going to use violence according to the rules of the military engagement or according to the rules of the police force engagement, then you should never use violence. You need to rely on the police or the equivalent of the police to handle these situations for you and not take them on yourself. Third section is on imparting beliefs and attitudes. The first idea in this section is a continuation of the topic of a shrine in the home. Naturally, as important as having a shrine is worshiping there daily. In the shrine room, got ahead. In the shrine room, offer fruit, flowers, or food. Visit your shrine when leaving the home and upon returning from work or outings. Worship in heartfelt devotion, clearing the inner channels to God and the gods so their grace flows toward you and loved ones. Make the shrine a refuge where all family members can find peace and solace, where they can connect with the gods and offer their praise, prayers, and practical needs. Train your children to worship in the shrine before any important event in life, such as a major exam at school, or when faced with a personal challenge or problem. Following this simple traditional practice in a sacred space within the home will do much to make Hinduism relevant to them on a day-to-day basis. So the second idea in this section is to worship together in the home shrine each morning. So it's not enough just to have a shrine. We want to have a puja in the shrine for the whole family, particularly when the kids are young. When they get older, it's going to get impossible to get everyone together. But when they're young, their schedules are such that you can really have them at a puja for the family. A popular saying in English is, the family that prays together stays together. In Hinduism, ideally, this refers to all members of the family participating in the morning worship in the home shrine before breakfast. The children can be trained to always bring an offering of a flower or at least a leaf. The exact routine followed depends on the family's religious background and lineage. Typical practices include a simple arati or a longer puja, singing devotional songs, repeating a mantra, reading scripture, and then meditating or performing simple sadhanas and yogas. As the children get older, they can take on greater responsibilities during the morning worship. So when they're young, they can't do that much, but they can handle physical objects, help get the puja set up, collect flowers in some way. When they're older, the daughter could cook some prasadam, for example. When they're older still, they could chant. So as they get older, they can do more and more. A number of Hindus have told us that what kept them a staunch practicing Hindu, despite exposure in their youth to other religious traditions at school and elsewhere, was the fact that the entire family practiced Hinduism together in the home. True stories. Then we get the third idea in this section, is to worship together as a family at a local temple once a week. And we get a question. Name the Panchanicha karmas in English and Sanskrit. A hint, we have just done 2 of the 5. So this one, I'll give you a couple of minutes. Panchanicha karmas. Okay. Upasana, worship. Utsava, holy days. Tirtha yatra, pilgrimage. Dharma, virtuous living. Samskaras, sacraments. So those are the 5 Panchanicha karmas in Sanskrit and English. The way I remember them is there's 3 forms of worship and 2 in addition. So we start out Upasana, Utsava, and Tirtha are the 3 forms of worship. The way Gurudeva explains Upasana, it's the daily worship in the home. Utsava is the weekly worship in the temple and attending festivals in the temple. And then Tirtha is the annual pilgrimage. So we're going from daily worship to weekly worship to annual worship. Easy to remember that way. Dharma, of course, virtuous living, basic practice of all religions, and samskaras are the sacraments mainly for children that bring religion into key psychological times in their life. So samskara, of course, means impression, can just refer to memories. Samskara chitta is the subconscious mind, the mind of memories. But samskara, in this sense, is referring to the English word sacrament, or holy samskaras. So the idea of a samskara and why it's supposed to be fancy is we're trying to make a significant impression in the child's mind at a psychological time in his or her life. Samskaras. Attending a puja at the temple every week allows us to experience the blessings of God and the gods on a regular basis. This helps keep us pure as well as strong in our religious commitments. The religious vibration of the home shrine is also strengthened by going to the temple regularly. Okay, how can some of the spiritual atmosphere of the temple be brought home with you? That's an easy one. In Gurudeva's teachings, of course. There's only one way he mentions. Specifically, some of the spiritual atmosphere of the temple can be brought home with you if you simply light an oil lamp in your shrine room when you return from the temple. So the idea is to do this first thing. Don't do it an hour after you come back from the temple. First thing. This sacred act brings devas who are at the temple right into the home shrine room, where from the inner world they can bless all family members and strengthen the religious force field of the home. So that's why we do it. The devas are attracted to light. So if you light a light, they say, oh, this is a shrine room. We'll stay here as long as we can. So they can only stay as long as there's no serious arguments in the home and as long as there's daily worship. Otherwise they won't be able to stay. And as we discovered in our first Zoom satsang on this, the material is quite short. So we've added section 2. Let me find my place. Jump forward here. Here we are. right there. So section 2 is we're looking at the ideas of spirituality and religion. Spiritual but not religious, religious but not spiritual, that kind of topic. And we're doing so from a few different viewpoints. We will be in these 9 Zoom satsangs. Last time we started with the publisher's desk, be a spiritual leader. So we're going to do the second half of that next. Subtitle, uplift the spirit of everyone you meet by expressing kindness, gratitude, appreciation, and encouragement. So being a spiritual leader at this time, when lots of people are still locked down, is really a great service to them. So you can be a spiritual leader just by expressing kindness, gratitude, appreciation, or encouragement to the people you're interacting with anyway. And the publisher's desk, as I mentioned, presents my thoughts on the difference between the nature of a spiritual leader and the nature of a religious leader. The UN Summit in 2001 that Gurudeva went to was entitled Millennium Summit for Religious and Spiritual Leaders. Naturally raises the question, well, what's the difference? I've never thought about it before, really. What's the difference between a religious leader and a spiritual leader? Aren't they the same thing? Oh, here's a quick summary of what I concluded was the difference. A religious leader is a leader of a recognized religion. A spiritual leader is someone who is expert in uplifting the spirit of others, which could be you. Some religious leaders are also spiritual leaders, and some are not. Some spiritual leaders are also religious leaders, and some are not. So as I mentioned last time, this is not a criticism. It's not trying to say everybody should be both. It's just an observation. Religious leaders are following specific traditions, and their tradition may not include being a spiritual leader. And spiritual leaders can be independent of any form of religion, so they're not both either. That's okay. But Gurudeva was definitely both. He was an expert in uplifting the spirit of others, no matter what their religion or ethnicity. How did he accomplish this? By speaking encouraging words to individuals and groups alike. So that's a summary. So now we're moving on to the new material in this. Unfortunately, it is an all too common way of our times that when someone is done, try again. Unfortunately, it is an all too common way of our times that when something is done that is good, helpful, or loving, it is overlooked, treated as something expected. No acknowledgement is shown, no appreciation is expressed. But if a shortcoming is seen, everyone is swift to point it out, and often in an unkind manner. So we'll look at some common examples of not being grateful or expressing appreciation. The mother of 4 girls works hard every day to take care of her daughter's needs at home and school. They take her efforts totally for granted, never help, and never say, "Thanks, Mom." A wife is faithfully attentive to her husband's needs and supportive of his career. The husband is always busy and never bothers to acknowledge her constant care. A husband works hard to financially support his family, even toiling weekends to earn extra income. The wife, thinking it is his duty, never expresses any gratitude for his tireless efforts, but even nags him. The superior takes extra time with her staff to help improve their skills and advance their position. But they turn their backs and never express thanks for her leadership. Those are our common examples. Gurudeva developed 2 sadhanas in this area, one for appreciation and one for gratitude. Our question: which sadhana did he advise be fulfilled first, and why? So that may not be on the tip of your tongue. He advised fulfilling the sadhana of gratitude first, then the sadhana of appreciation. So gratitude is done first. The sadhana of gratitude is to take out paper and pen and list all the good that has come into your life during the past 5 years. As memory is stimulated, the list will grow. Gurudeva suggests that if you find yourself not able to even recall one good thing, write several times, "I am a spiritual being of light maturing in the ocean of experience." This will stimulate a positive memory, which will soon be followed by more. Feelings of loving appreciation will begin to flow toward those who helped you in the good times. Feelings of acceptance and forgiveness will also well up for the bad times. This sadhana echoes the wisdom found in the Tirukaral's chapter on gratitude. It is improper to ever forget a kindness, but good to forget it once, an injury received. Focusing on the good things in our life leads naturally to the sadhana of appreciation. So that's the answer to the question we asked. Why do we do? Which one do we do first, and why? So if we focus on the good things in our life, if we generate a feeling of gratitude for what's happened and how people are helping us and so forth, we're naturally in the state of mind where showing appreciation will happen. This sadhana is to approach those to whom you are grateful and tell them, while looking deeply into their eyes, how much you esteem and value them. Be specific, that is the key. Don't just say something general like "you are wonderful." Rather, point out specific qualities so that the person knows you really deeply feel what you are saying, that it is not just a surface compliment. Convince him or her that you are sincere by your kind words, smiling face, and even a small gift. Question: how can you prepare yourself for the appreciation sadhana? See if you remember this one. To prepare yourself for the appreciation sadhana, you can practice by standing before a mirror, looking into your eyes, and say aloud, "I am grateful to you and appreciate your being in my life." You can then describe some of the many good actions you have done during the past 5 years. Once you feel comfortable appreciating yourself, you are ready to begin appreciating others. This exercise helps overcome any shyness you may feel. Special events are great times to express appreciation. Birthdays are perfect opportunities, as are Mother's Day, Father's Day, and Grandparents' Day. In many nations, there is even a Boss's Day. A few years ago, a number of our youth devotees in Malaysia held a surprise Mother's Day event. So this is many, 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 many years ago at this point, but this was written in 2010. They wrote to me about it. After the normal satsang events, bhajans, and meditation, we announced our surprise, got each amma to come forward and stand in front, and each of her children put a huge garland on her, gave her a bookmark, a card, and a beautiful single rose package, all done by us, and prostrated to each amma's feet, hugged her and wished her well on this day. We all said thank yous. By now, most ammas were already busy wiping away tears from their eyes. Great story. One of the obstacles to expressing appreciation is the fact that, unfortunately, often no one else is doing it. Extra courage then is needed to be the first to do so. For men, the culture may say without saying that real men don't express appreciation. That's not true, but still for men, more courage is required. A less personal way to express appreciation is a note accompanying a gift. A gift that you make yourself conveys care and heartfelt sincerity. Gurudeva encouraged us to express appreciation to family members and friends, spiritual mentors, business associates, and community leaders as often as we can. Remember, when sharing your love with others, be specific, smile, and realize you are helping change the world for the better. Those you uplift will learn from your example and later uplift others in their life. He wrote, "We are essentially pure souls temporarily living in a physical body. We can and should use our God-given gift of free will encased in love to make a difference in the world today, even if it is in a small way. All of us making the same difference together do so in a big way." Shishyas should be grateful to their gurus, husbands to their wives, wives to their husbands, parents to their children, children to their parents, students to their teachers, and teachers to their students. Oh, that's the last slide of that one. Oh, I thought I'd fit in a third one. This is related to the home shrine and the temple. As we still have some time left to fill, next we will share a list of 10 practical suggestions to help devotees obtain maximum blessings from going to the temple. To best feel and be benefited by the Shakti of the deity. So the idea is very simple. You're going to the temple. Why not do so in ways where you get the maximum benefit? Sounds good. What simple suggestions come to your mind for obtaining maximum blessings from going to the temple? As I mentioned, the full list is 10. So I'm sure you can think of maybe 4 or 5. Okay, see how your list compares to mine. First suggestion is to attend a puja at the temple at least once a week. That's in accordance with what we've said before. This allows us to experience the blessings of God and the gods on a regular basis and helps keep us pure as well as strong in our religious commitments. Second suggestion you may have forgotten is to have special traditional Hindu clothing that you only wear to the temple. Simply wearing this elegant attire helps put you in a religious mood. Children should also have their own traditional outfits for the temple. Of course, the best country for that is Bali. All the children, no matter how young, are beautifully dressed in traditional clothing. Third suggestion is to make your travel to the temple a religious time. Don't allow yourself to focus on problems at home, work, or school. Don't think or talk about politics or business or COVID-19. Instead, play religious music, bhajans, or Sanskrit chanting on the car's audio system. Tell the children uplifting stories. This centers the family and helps them arrive at the temple in a religious frame of mind, making everyone more attentive to the sacred ceremonies. Fourth suggestion is to bring an offering. Ideally, bring a garland or even a single flower or fresh fruit for each shrine at which you are going to worship. Each act of giving opens you to the blessings of the deity. When we give first, we increase our receptivity. Therefore, never visit the temple empty-handed. The fifth suggestion is to put as much time and prana into the offering as possible. Prana is the energy that exudes from your hands. Buying a garland at the store is good, but making it with your own hands is even better. When the garland charged with your prana is placed on the deity, it is as if you had touched the deity yourself, creating a closeness. It is as if you had walked into the sanctum and given the deity a hug, which of course no one is allowed to do. Sixth suggestion is to keep focused on the murti and the priest chanting during the puja. Pay attention, don't let the mind wander. When singing bhajans, keep focused on the meaning of the words, even if you don't know the meaning of every word. It is good to have a general idea of what the priest is chanting and what the bhajan means. Greater understanding increases the power of what we are doing. Aside from our physical offerings, singing devotional songs with true bhakti is a major way that we give prana to the deity. The best time for this is when the curtain is closed while the deity is being decorated. The more prana we give to the deity through our devotion, the more blessings are reflected back to us during the final arati. Seventh suggestion is to not rush away after the puja. There's Niraj there. Rather, sit down and be quiet. Meditate a while and bask in the Shakti, the blessings radiating out through the murti to the devotees. If one of your spiritual disciplines is to perform japa, this is also an ideal time for that. The eighth suggestion is to bring some of the religious atmosphere of the temple home with you. And this is lighting the oil lamp. It's even the same picture. So we won't read that one again. And it ends with the statement, this is one of Gurudeva's special insights into the mysticism of temple worship. Ninth suggestion is to attend the temple on the deity's special days when the Shakti is stronger than on other days. This is helpful in attuning yourself to the Shakti. For example, there's a stronger Shakti on yearly festival days such as Taipusam for Lord Skanda. These days are determined by the ancient science of astrology, maximized for their spiritual energies. Such days as Chaturthi for Ganesha, Shashti for Kartikeya, and Ekadashi for Shiva happen every fortnight. So these are always days when it is possible to connect a bit more deeply with these deities. Last suggestion. 10th suggestion is to take a vrata, a vow for a festival. This is helpful in intensifying your worship. Typical vrata is to fast during the day, attend the temple festival ceremonies in the evening, and only afterwards have a meal. Other more elaborate vratas exist, and you have likely heard of them or seen members of your community following them. Last slide. Thank you very much. Look at that, 6 o'clock. That's a good 6 o'clock p.m. here is dinner time in Hawaii. Thank you very much. I will Om to finish. Om.